And here we are at Triple T number 33 on August 16th, 2022. Who'd have thunk it? So glad you guys could show up. For those of you watching the recording, I appreciate you just as much. And for all of you that are watching or live with us, remember to share, spread the joy, share this with as many people as you can, hit the subscribe and the bell and comment and all the good stuff that we know about in this day and age. And hello, Elijah. Hello, Lenora.
Morning.
All my good peeps on here. Holly, we were chatting just before we got going here. And anybody want to share anything before we get into the funky things that are running around in my squirrel infested woods? And for those of you that have no idea who I am or what this is, no, we're not talking about squirrels. But yes, I have some woods. Anybody got some ahas or stories they want to share from the week? Yes? No? All right. Well, if you saw the list on Facebook this week, I posted sales for hospitality, dating protocols, and the power of labels. And a little background on myself for those of you who are watching for the first time, have no idea who I am. My name is TJ Zebel, call myself a professional problem solver. I've done many things, lived about 8 different lifetimes so far in my short years. Those that know me will understand what I'm talking about. And one of the things that I did, I actually got a degree in hotel, restaurant, and property management, and ran a couple of places and spent enough time working in the industry. Also did some restaurant and bar consultation. And after spending time learning NLP and languaging protocols, another one of Dr. David Snyder's students, whose family owns a number of restaurants out on the East Coast, and I got to talking about different protocols that could be used in the hospitality industry. And some of you know, my wife and I moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area last September, so we're coming up on a whole year being out here in the hot box. And just in time for record-breaking heat year. But with all that's gone on in the last couple of years with the lockdowns and everything, I'm wondering, is it just me, or has the restaurant industry not only taken a hit with all of this, but a hit in the service capability as well, the communication capability? Anybody want to put in their little opinion before I get rolling? Yes, no?
I don't know if Holly was going. Holly, it's great to see your face on camera. I'm super excited. And Elijah, I mentioned to you last week, I like the picture. With hotels, yes, I do agree. I think it's definitely shifted, and to the point that when I do have a really awesome waiter or waitress, I make it a point to write it on the receipt that says, like, thank you for being personable, because it's part of the going out experience. So I really like to hear other people's stories. So I'm like wanting to hear more about them. So I really, really enjoy when we get good ones.
Exactly.
Did I freeze?
Yeah.
Thank you, Froze.
It's okay. We can still hear you, but you got a nice smile on your face. That's okay. It's frozen. But what I've also noticed is fact, one restaurant I went into here in Texas, I finally called one of the waitresses over and started a chat with her and da da da. You know, how long you been at this? What do you like best about it? And after we built a little rapport, I said, out of curiosity, is it an unwritten law that servers are not allowed to smile in Texas? And she was like, what? I went, y'all look like you just got told that you're getting a pay cut and all of your vacation days have been taken away and you're not allowed to quit. She's like, what? I said,
Wait. Not allowed to quit?
yeah. No, I said, that's what it looks like because they're all walking around and they've all got that look of like,
Right. Okay. Sorry. I thought you were like being literal. Sorry. Excuse me.
And when I mentioned it, I said, take a little time, your coworkers. They come out of the kitchen or something, they're laughing and joking. It proves that they can smile. And then it's right into zombie world and so I'm going to be putting together a class again. I actually Saturday night, my wife and I stopped in at a local restaurant for the second time, and one of the co-president was there, and I talked to him for a bit and shared a couple of protocols with him that I'd come up with, and we'll see. If he follows through. He said that he'd get a hold of me and set up a date for me to talk with his staff, and he shared with me how hard it is, and I said, I understand that, and it's even harder now that food prices have gone through the roof. Inflation is way out of hand, and it's, people are more and more inclined to eat at home or go through the fast food and get a 99-cent heart attack rather than go into a restaurant and sit down and have a decent meal. So a couple of the things that I brought up to him real quick, and he had one waitress that seemed to be very interested and receptive, is you know how it is when the waitress brings you your food, comes back a little bit later, and what do they ask you? How's everything? And you all had the same reaction on your face and you're not even eating. It's like, And so one of the things that one little question I told her that she could ask differently is, so what's been the best bite you've taken so far? What'd you like best about it? And I said, that takes you from the automated response of to actually analyzing your food. Now, people that know me know I'm a full-on foodie. And one of my favorite things to do with people, especially those that may be a little finicky with food, is I will ask them while they're eating, what ingredients are in there? Can you list them all? How was it made? If it was deep fried, what kind of oil did they deep fry it in? And it puts your mouth and your mind in unison together to start actually analyzing the food that you're consuming instead of just trying to grind it up to get it into your stomach as quick as possible. And I explained that to them a little bit about the more you can get the the customer experience into a cross between novelty and curiosity and analyzing, the more they will start to understand how good the food is that they're eating. Another one that I asked them was, so you guys have go boxes here, right? They're like, well, yeah. I said, how much do you charge for them? And of course, they give me that dumb look like they're free. I said, let the people know that. About a quarter of the way into their meal. And here's why. By the way, our go boxes are free. And the cook made a cherry cobbler. Oh, and fresh is the best way to have it. You can take the rest of that home. So make sure that you leave some room for the cherry cobbler. I'll be back to see when you're ready for the go box, okay? Smile and nod. And the restaurant president, co-president looks at me, is like, wow. I said, upsells go through the roof, because when do you guys come and offer dessert? When we're 90% of the way through and we're full up to here. Or when we're calling you over to get the go box because we know we can't eat it all. Did you save room for dessert? And if they say no, well, we can put it in the go box so that later on tonight, when you're sitting and the food coma has kind of wore off and you want a little something sweet just before bed, you know what it's like. How about some fresh apple pie?
You know, my dad used to say, dessert has its own stomach.
Oh,
Doesn't
all
matter
right.
if you're overly full, you know, dessert goes to a different stomach.
I'm writing that one down because that's going in. Dessert has its own stomach. That's why we do this stuff. That is definitely going into the protocol. The other part that I'm going to be teaching in the class is having fun with the drink orders. Instead of, so would you like something to drink? All right, how about if we start off with the drinks? Are we thinking flat or fizzy? Sweet or plain? Adult or child? And if they order water? Flat and boring coming up. Yes, but it's a fun, it's all in how you deliver it. Remember, we are no longer talking about an industry that is the same as it was 4 years ago. You got to have some novelty, you got to have some entertainment, you got to have some fun. You know, how did the diners survive for years? Because Flo had been there for 30 years, still had the same name tag that probably had a little bit of mustard dried on it for a while. She knew everybody's name and nobody gave her shit if they couldn't take it back, because she would give it to them and they loved it. And so we have to remember, even in our industry, you know, I think people are just getting so hungry for entertainment outside of a computer screen, communication, connection. And that's the stuff that I want to bring back to the hospitality industry. When I was bartending, it was just as much show as it was providing something to drink. You wanted flair, you wanted fun, you wanted to feel the experience, because trying to pour a Jack and Coke, well, no offense, you really don't need to have 8 years of bartending experience to mix a Jack and Coke. Yes, you might get the proportions off a little bit at first, but it won't take you long to figure out. So if you're going to go out, you want to have that fun experience, and then integrating the trifecta: echo, talk, three magic questions, values, and criteria, and doing it for no other reason than to use it for the entertainment factor, to make people feel better than when you met them. Even if it's a 45-second interaction, but you can still do the echo and three magic questions in 45 seconds. I've proven it. Those of you that have been around Planet TJ for a while have probably have heard the stories. You know what I'm talking about. For those of you that haven't, reach out. I offer a free 30-minute consult. We'll talk about anything. It's your time.
TJ?
Yes, Elijah.
Do you ever use unconscious hello?
Would you share it with the rest of the world so that they know that if I say yes, they're like, but.
Yeah, it's like usually when people first see each other, it's not when they're up close and they actually start talking. It's from about 30 yards away or maybe more, when they first actually notice. When you first notice someone, it's probably from quite a distance. And if your eyes kind of make eye contact, you might do like a little eyebrow flash or a little head nod or a little, like a little silent acknowledgement of the other person. And if you learn to see how that person does their kind of non-verbal greeting from a distance, and you mirror it and do it back. So like if someone does an eyebrow raise, you do an eyebrow raise. If someone does a head nod, you do a head nod. If somebody does a little head tilt, you do a head tilt the same way. That's known as an unconscious hello, and it just signals I'm a friend to a stranger from a distance. And it's a very fast way to create rapport. And there are some other advanced things you can do with it as well if you want to go down that road. But yeah, do you ever use an unconscious hello, like do a little eyebrow flash at people and just kind of, or do you do like a standard, like you have your eyebrow flash and that's your move and that's what you do, or do you like try to observe how people do their unconscious hello and then mirror it?
Well, the funny part about that one is challenging people that once they're aware of what that is, to start looking for it and testing people, because it's amazing how many people you can get to do that back to you when you consciously do it. When you were talking about that, it reminded me that I needed to do a shout out to our brother from another mother, Jonathan, who is not going to be with us tonight because he's up in Alaska fishing with his papa. But Jonathan he caught this, like he walks around, he does the eyebrow flash all the time. And it cracks. When I remember when he first learned that, he was like a kid with a new toy. he was eyebrow flashing everybody. And I had to reel him back a little bit. I was like, might want to tone it down just a little bit with the dudes. Just, I mean, in this day and age, stop typing. It was for Jonathan, nobody else. You can eyebrow flash people as much as you want. But yeah, that little squirrel story came up. So, anybody got any?
I think in my experience, it's good to see if someone will do an unconscious hello to you so you can mirror it. But if they don't, like if it's like, because it's very fast, right? The whole thing happens in like 2 seconds.
Yes.
So maybe not even 2 seconds, right? So you give them like a half a second or 3/4 of a second, and you know, if they don't give you an unconscious hello, then you just do a generic eyebrow flash, right? And most of the time you'll get an eyebrow flash back, or maybe a nod of the head or something. But once you've seen it, if you have the, you know, the memory for it, then the next time you see the same person, you would do like, if you did an eyebrow flash and they did a head nod, then the next time I see them, I would do a head nod, right? Because I know that's the way they do it.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and it's funny when Dr. David Snyder teaches this, he always refers to the boys from Jersey who almost do like an entire body unconscious. Hey, what's up? Yeah.
It's the same with like handshakes as well. Some people have like a really strong grip.
Yeah.
And other people have like a really fish grip, you know, and
yes.
you know, whatever grip they give you, you kind of mirror the grip back. You know, if they are you know, some people like they shake your hand and they put their other hand on top. I can't help it. If someone puts their second hand on top, I immediately put my hand on top.
Yes.
Right. It's just the instant mirror of whatever they do. You know, sometimes people, when they talk to you, they touch your shoulder slightly. When it's my turn to talk, I will touch their shoulder in the exact same spot where they touch my shoulder.
Yep.
The same way they did to me, and it creates such a strong rapport so quickly. Super powerful stuff. Very subtle, very under the radar. Most people not watching for it. But
although
it's really,
you have to admit, the dead fish handshake gives me the.
But that's, you see, that's the thing. You got to rise above that.
Yes.
That's just you mastering your own reaction. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. It like that doesn't mean that you have to become a dead fish handshake person yourself. It just means that you're aware enough that you pay attention enough to your clients, even if they're not actually your clients. You can kind of consider everybody your client, you know. And it just another reminder to yourself that you are paying attention on that level, that you are good at what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They actually did a test, and man, I just saw it a couple of days ago. They were talking about the average pressure of a male handshake has gone down like 20 to 30%, and the average pressure for a woman has risen almost 20%. And there, it was, man, I wish I could. I wasn't ready for this. I wish I had all the stats and how they broke it down, but it's with all the attacks on masculinity now and gender equalization, and some of the other things that are apparently losing traction is the understanding of the power dynamics in a handshake. One of the things that was taught was to show dominance or submissiveness when shaking a hand. If you wanted to exert dominance, you turn the handshake over so that your hand is on the top. if you're meeting a businessman for a client, or for not a client, for the transaction, you can actually use that knowledge under the radar, so to say, that when you shake their hand, you can actually turn yours under.
Yeah, you know which position in the frame to start in.
What's that?
Like if they, you know which position. Like if you know, if I. Oh wait, we're sideways. Hi, sideways people. How you doing?
Well,
Where's my?
we call him Spider-Man. He's the only person we know that can sit on the wall and talk to us.
Right. So why am I sideways?
That's because you're in the UK. You're on the side of the earth.
I know, right?
Elijah, are you on screen lock on the iPad or something?
Nope. I am on.
I'm finding this fascinating. I did not know this about the handshake, about turning it. I thought at least when you're like, if you're walking with somebody that.
Aha! I'm upside down. There you go. That's better, isn't it?
Definitely Spider-Man.
Wait, success. Let's put this in the background. Okay, right. So when let's say somebody shakes your hand and this is the other person's hand, and they tilt slightly this way, so their hand is on top, they're trying to show dominance.
Yes.
You know that when you start speaking with them, you initialize the interaction as the subordinate or the equal, because that's where they want you to be.
Yes.
And then you sneak your way to the dominant position afterwards. Yeah. You know where to start in the frame, because if you were to, if they kind of turn this way and you kind of, you're having this kind of sideways thumb war thing going on with your handshake, then yeah, it's not good. You're like, it's better to be under the radar, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to know.
And also, if when you're going for the reach, you can always just do the interrupt and look at your hand. Do the Richard Branson thing and just be like, yeah,
right.
I've done that a few times.
Yes. Oh, the stuff that we find out. And for those of you watching the recording, if you have no idea what that was about, here's your chance to reach out. Click in the comments. Maybe we'll talk about it more in depth in another episode. Any other input on that before we change gears? Went from hospitality to handshakes to
instant inductions.
Yes, to instant inductions. Oh, the squirrel. Back to hospitality. One of the other things that we taught was at the end of the night, or at the end of the meal, whatever, dropping off the bill, was thank you for investing your time with me here, because time's the only thing I can't serve you.
Bit cheesy when I hear that. I think it's a bit cheesy.
It is a bit cheesy.
I mean, not everyone thinks it's cheesy, so it's a good thing. I did, like, for example, I bought something off of Amazon Marketplace, like an independent seller through Amazon. And when the package arrived, they had a little handwritten note in there, oh, thank you for your business. And I didn't think that was cheesy. I thought that was actually kind of nice. So It depends. I suppose other people might not find it cheesy. Each of us has our own kind of line of where we think that is. For me, if someone thanks me for their time, in most interactions, it's okay. But if they're thanking me for their time when really, or for my time when really they're thanking, it feels like, when you said it just now, it feels like you're saying you're thanking me for my time, but actually you're thanking me for my business. And I would rather you just be straight about it. You know what I mean? So that's why it comes across as a bit cheesy to me in that context.
And
That's just me. Maybe it's a British thing. Maybe it's a British versus American thing. I don't know.
Could
You
be.
know? Maybe.
Are you talking specifically at a restaurant, like thank you for your business? Or if you were coaching somebody and you're like, they said thank you and you said thank you for your business?
I don't think I would thank someone for their business. I don't thank people for their business when they come for coaching.
Yeah.
No.
So I feel like it's like context specific.
No, I thought he was talking about a restaurant. So
following. Okay, it's just
like,
clarifying.
I thought he was talking about a restaurant and the server at the restaurant thanking you for your time, which I think is a little bit, it's a bit cheesy.
That was something that I used to do at the when I was bartending though. My rich dad taught me that because they could spend their time anywhere. The other little thing was if the restaurant won't supply them, I had a number of servers that I would tell them to purchase those little mints themselves. And there's a technique to it. When you put down the bill, you set it down with 1 mint. You take 2 steps away, and you turn around, come back, and go up, and you put down enough mints for everybody. And it's a psychological hack, which spurs the law of reciprocity. And I lived off tips. My rich dad taught me all sorts of stuff, but a lot of them, unfortunately, are not as applicable now as they were back when, yes, I'm going to date myself here a bit, when I was bartending and everybody could smoke in the bar. I always made sure everybody that was working had their own lighter, and I would make them and tell them invest in a nice flashy one. Zippos were the best because you could do that quick, get really good at the flip. And made sure that there was never more than 2 cigarette butts in the ashtray at any given point.
Listen, an ashtray that gets cleaned quick, because I used to work in a bar, an ashtray that gets replaced with a clean one quickly is always appreciated.
Yes.
It's not everyone at the table is a smoker. So the non-smokers love it even more.
Yes.
When you vamoose the used ashtray real quick. I learned that one when I did 10 bar for about 6 months when I was 19. That was a great job. I think everyone should work behind the bar at some point. It's a great job because you learn a lot.
And what's another reason why you keep the ashtray clean? Out of curiosity, anybody?
I don't know. We used to just do it to improve the profile of the seating area.
Eleanor?
Go, Holly, I'll wait.
Just because I don't know necessarily the reason for the restaurant, but I know that doing that when I was a substitute teacher made all the difference in the world. Because one little crayon, my accent's coming out, but one little crayon on the floor would make night and day difference. I substitute taught. Once I noticed it, I actually started experimenting with it. And people would be in just such a good mood when the room was completely clean, and they'd keep it clean, and it would change to their behavior, it would change to their state, and then one crayon or one candy wrapper somewhere in the room, magically the whole room would just get into a bad state, disorganized, they'd all be mad at each other. Yeah. So I don't know if it's a similar thing, but I do know it makes a difference in substitute teaching.
I was thinking that when it's clean, the more they'll smoke and the more they'll drink.
These are all good answers, and this is why I ask questions before I give out the answer. The reason that I was taught is because cigarette butts denote time spent. So,
okay.
If the spouse shows up, how long you been here? Just got here. versus how long you been here? They look at the ashtray and there's 8 cigarette butts and they're all the same brand. The one that the guy's got in his mouth. Yeah, they figure out how long you've been there.
Yeah, it's the same. Like you keep the free, like the savories, you know, whether it's chips or peanuts,
Yep.
or keep that bowl filled always. You never let it run empty. If it gets halfway down, you top it up, because salty snacks make people thirsty. You know, that's it. It's just the way it's the same. Like even like if you go to a completely different scenario, but like in like a department store, you know, there are tiles for the aisles that flow between departments, but once you're in the section where the clothes are, it's carpet. So you will spend more time standing still or walking slower on the carpeted area where the products are, and much more quickly walking through the store when you're trying to get from A to B on the tiled part. So it's just, I mean, the marketers know all of this, and they've known it for generations, right?
Yes.
And you know, we've been playing along to their tune for quite some time.
And where is the vast majority of profit and tips made? In the upsells, the dessert, the drinks. Yeah. So that's why.
Can I get your refill?
Yeah.
No. Are you ready for
And
another
that's
one?
where you'll also notice that a lot of
You don't have keys. You're not driving. Ready for another one? You know, like.
And a lot of the restaurants will either have the dessert case right in front where you walk right past it, or you can see it from the tables. Or they will have the dessert cart that if anybody orders dessert, it's not just brought out by the server. The dessert cart is brought out with a whole bunch of desserts on it, and one of the desserts is taken off and given to the person that ordered it at the table. But everybody in the restaurant gets to see the dessert cart.
Yeah, and also it's like you can also put the scarcity there as well. Like when the server first comes and starts telling you about the specials, or hi, introducing, maybe they just take the drinks order and stuff. They say, oh, I recommend you order the souffles ahead of time, because you know they do tend to run out and sell out, and then once they're gone,
Scarcity.
they're gone. So you kind of get the people to, you know, to buy the dessert first, in a way. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Anybody else, guys?
Isn't it really?
What's that?
It's all a game, really, isn't it?
It's all part of the experience. If you know,
that's the thing, and that's when it really works well. You know, so if you're not doing it because you want the upsell, you're doing it because you want the person to have the best experience.
Yes.
And if you can make that your genuine reason for taking the action that you take, then it comes across much more congruent, and then people are more likely to buy into it. Right?
And the people go to restaurants not just for food. A lot of it is for the experience, for
the ambiance.
Yeah, that's why places like Dick's Last Resort are in business. And for those of you that are watching overseas, there's a restaurant chain here in the U.S. called Dick's Last Resort, and people go there to get insulted. They will the servers will make these tall chef hats out of paper, and they'll write they'll write some stuff on there that is just horrendous. And you got to sit there and eat it, and they will give you a hard time if you don't finish your meal, and they will yell at you and all this stuff, and people are just howling because it's a place where they can go and have fun, and you can yell back at the waiter and all that. It's novelty. It's an experience. It's different.
You know, I had a business idea once that was completely unique, and it was like, as a hypnotist, I could find out somebody's worst nightmare and then put them in trance and show it to them. And then when they wake up, I could say, well, you survived your worst nightmare now, right? And like like the action junkies and, those people who go bungee jumping and parachute diving, like skydiving and all that, I'm sure they would love to see their own worst nightmare. You know what I mean? And be like, oh, there's people who love horror movies and stuff, and they would love to get a good fright, a genuine fright, but then wrapped up in the experience at the end with the, well, you survived it. You know what I mean? So it's empowering as well, I think, by the time you're done. But I never went through with it. I was a little bit too scared to show people their nightmares. It was an idea,
Especially with today's technology, with the goggles and everything. Boy, you could.
Oh, you could make it real, dude. You could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because like you have like 4D cinema now, right? Where the seats move and the not only the picture is 3D, but the seats move and vibrate, and you get like water splashed in you. Like if a car zooms past and it's a rainy scene, you can have like water splashed on you, and it's like fully immersive, and
Yep.
Yeah.
To say, doesn't the success of Ghost Train, I know yours is even deeper, but isn't the success of Ghost Train prove that that's exactly what people love to have? So I think you're onto something, definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those like it might be one of those like, if you build it, they will come kind of thing, Like I'm sitting there thinking, well, how many people really want to see their own nightmares? Because I personally don't want to see my nightmares, I'm pretty sure, knowing some of the thoughts that are in my head, that my nightmares would be pretty messed up. However, I'm sure there are those out there who don't think the way I do, And, if it becomes available, maybe they'll all turn up.
It's how things start. So if anybody out there wants to invest in a business for a hypnotic scare room, contact Elijah.
Bring spare underwear. Guaranteed to soil yourself.
Yeah, the only scare room that has medical staff in case you actually have a heart attack from. I
mean, I have I have induced reactions. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's something how to do.
Yep.
You know how to do it. You know how to push someone's buttons. You know how to amplify. It's a little bit like you kind of think, when you think about it, like, oh, ethically. But if they know what they're buying before they start, then it's nothing wrong with it, I suppose.
Well, a number of my clients know that if I see the smallest hint of an abreaction, I'm diving right in. Like,
oh yeah, I get excited. A reaction, like, oh, here we go.
70 miles an hour driving down a freeway with no exit, and I saw a hint of an abreaction. I'm like, what was that? Nothing. Not really. What was that? Nothing. Point to where you feel it. Boom. All right, here we go. Anytime, anywhere, for any reason.
Without warning.
Yes.
Anytime, anywhere, for any reason, with anyone, without warning. Those were the 5. Hypnosis in freefall.
That's a great label right there. In fact, I think I'm gonna jump right over dating protocols for those of you that were hoping to
dating and
stuff about meeting your special somebody. We'll see if we get to it later, but power of labels.
Labels? Oh,
yes.
Dude, I'll be talking about labels this Saturday. I'm actually teaching this Saturday, first time since February. I'm teaching a class on Saturday. And we're going to talk about language, which is kind of meta, actually. We'll talk about language. But, yeah, well, I'm going to be talking about labels on Saturday and how they box you in and stuff like that.
Perfect. Want to give us a little preview while we're here?
Okay, well, language is always at least 2 degrees of separation away from reality. Okay, so you have You have reality, what is actually happening out there. Then you have your interpretation of reality, which is what you think is happening out there based on all the filters that it went through after it came in through your five senses. You know, your beliefs, your values, your meta programs, all that stuff NLP teaches, right? So you have the map, you have the territory, right? And then you have language, which is a description of your map. So it's at least 2 degrees separated from what is actual reality. So you have actual reality, which is the territory. You have your interpretation of the territory, which would be your individual map. And then when you describe your map with language, it's a label of an interpretation of reality. So it's 2 degrees separated from what is actually real. But then people start taking language as if it was real, as if the words actually mean the thing.
Yes.
So then you start creating these boxes and these categories inside your mind and live by them as if they are actual physical boundaries. So we're going to use language. We're going to start teaching, or we, I say we, but I mean me, how to use language to transcend itself. You heard that right. How to use language to transcend itself, right? So yeah, we're gonna use language to undo the boxes that people have created that they're living within by getting them to a place where they don't know. We're going to use confusion. We're going to use not knowing. We're going to use uncertainty, because that's where all true potential lies. If you think about like different people have different words for it. So some people call it the void. Some people call it source. Some people call it a higher intelligence. Some people call it the quantum field. Some people call it God. Some people call it the Akasha, the ether, the Tao, you know, the whatever. We're all talking about the same thing, that unseen thing that exists, that is in life, that everybody knows it's there, but we can't see it or touch it or feel it or know, but it's there, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. We're going to get them back to that place using language. And then when they return from that place, when they return from the void, they will land in a place that is new and different from where they were before they left. I'm coming to you in just a second. And that is how you break the constrictions of the boxes that you find yourself in. Yes, Lenore.
I'm flabbergasted if you're telling me that it's been since February since you last taught, because Smurfing does not feel like it was February.
I do have a tendency to go on and give some mini lessons everywhere I go, but an actual class, yeah.
Was this Joe Dispenza inspired? Is this from all the melding?
It was not Joe Dispenza inspired.
Okay.
However, the experience I had with Joe Dispenza did get me inspired in general. And that kind of has sent me back to some of my older ways rather than the more like recently, you know, I've been struggling a bit recently to be inspired. But like the blindfold was ripped off or the Band-Aid was ripped off. And I'm like, okay, let's go. You know?
That's awesome. Let's go.
Kind of. By proxy, Joe Dispenza was there when it happened. Joe Dispenza was on my screen when it happened, but he didn't do it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. So you can use language to get people back to source or to the void. And inside source and inside the void is pure potential. Inside the quantum field is pure potential. They will tell you that everything that ever has existed, everything that ever could exist, everything that never will exist, everything that has already and won't ever and will now and is still, and like all the different combinations simultaneously are happening inside the void or inside source or inside, which I like to use the word the void, but I mean all of them, right? Quantum field or whatever term you prefer. And if that's true, you know, so this did come from Joe Dispenza, right? They did a study on tickling, And they've proven that if you know when you're going to be tickled, where you're going to be tickled, and by whom, you won't feel tickled. Right? So when it comes to like manifesting or getting out of these boxes using language and stuff that I'm talking about, you have to get to a point where you don't know, or with manifesting at the point where you let go, and you kind of let go of the how. They say let go of the how. You decide what you want, but you don't choose how you're going to get it, because you have to let the universe tickle you and surprise you pleasantly with the manifestation or the creation of whatever it is you want. In the same way, when you're trying to get out from your problem and find a solution, if you try and logic your way to a solution, it's being a little bit too detailed in that, oh, it has to happen this way. But if you let go and get to the void for a few seconds, when you come back down, that micro trance that you're in is enough to allow your unconscious to flash you an image or a feeling or something internally that makes you think, oh, I never thought of that before. And suddenly you have an idea, and now you're on the different path, you know? So I'm going to be teaching people how to say funky, weird shit to confuse other people out of it. That's basically what it is. How to confuse somebody. Because when people come in, they're pretty sure about their problems. Somebody comes in and says, I have anxiety. They're pretty sure that they have anxiety. If I can make them unsure that they even have it, then that's pretty much a win already, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
great question.
Especially lately, I've been getting a lot more clients with anxiety issues. And, I ask them, are you sure it's anxiety? Or, that's a good label, but then I go through the anxiety, fear, excitement protocol and rewrite a bunch of that stuff for them. The other one that has been around for quite a while, and doctors, I've gotten in trouble for this before, so if you disagree with me, you can disagree with me, stop typing or whatever. But the label, the label of ADD, ADHD, and I've asked a lot of, well, who told you I had ADD? Well, my teacher. I said, well, why? Well, I used to get distracted in school. Yeah, what grade? What class? Well, it was history when I was in 7th grade. You got labeled ADD because you got distracted in 7th grade in history. Were there any people in your class that you were interested in, and were you interested in history? Well, there was this one person, and I hate history. Yeah, you're probably bored off your keister.
It occurs to me the same thing. Like, how do you know what your emotions are? Who told you what anger is? Who told you what sadness? Like, if you were, as a kid, if you were brooding, you were kind of in a, you're not in a great state one day, and you kind of, whatever, everybody goes through them. And it wasn't until a parent or a grown-up or a teacher or someone said, oh, he's having a moody day. And now suddenly you've got, because any emotion you feel is an entirely internal and subjective experience.
Yes.
So how do you know that what moodiness is to me, or the label that I was told to associate with the feeling of, the label moodiness that I was told to associate with the feeling that I feel that I now correlate with moodiness, is the same as what you think of when you hear the word moodiness?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know, do you?
You got judged like the fish that can't climb the tree like the monkey.
Right. So this is another thing we're going to be talking about on Saturday, like the kind of limitations of language as well.
Lenora?
Okay, quick question, serious question. When you were just talking about like the person who had ADD and they were in 7th grade, you hold a very specific tone, of a very like polite but very authoritative tone. Is there a reason? Because I tend to drop down really soft, and I don't know if you're doing it on purpose or it just happens to be the tone you've selected.
My tone is probably automatic, where it's, well, who told you that? Who set that in your mind? Now, are there people with ADD? Yes. Chances are I probably have ADD. I mean, check out the amount of squirrels but there are some people that I've met that have been given it, that have turned it into such a crutch and a limitation. Well, I can't do this because I have ADD. I can't become this because I have ADD. I can't do this because I'm bipolar. And are there, yeah. And the funny part, I've called, I don't know how many people I've called out on the whole bipolar thing, because they've pulled it on, away from work. And I went, how do you keep a job with an attitude like that when you're bipolar? I mean, you must go through jobs like every 3 weeks, because your temper is out of control. How long you been at your job? Well, I've been there for 8 years. You managed to show up at a job for 8 years and not lose your mind on a coworker, your boss, somebody you had to work with? Or is it a choice?
It's a dependency, right? They want something to blame.
Yeah, they're like, I said, and one of them was a former roommate of mine in San Diego who pulled the bipolar thing. And I knew where she worked. And she dealt with a lot of public, dealt with a lot of supervisors, a lot of coworkers and everything. And I called her on her feces just like that. I went, don't give me that bipolar blah. You've been at your job way too long, and they can pop you like that. Done, gone. It's a choice.
Now there's people typing for sure.
Oh yeah,
right?
keep typing.
So if you've been told that you have bipolar, right? We're not saying that you don't have it.
Yeah.
We're saying that you are probably much more resourceful than you realize, and if you could tap into your own power, you'd be free of it in an instant.
Exactly.
We're not saying you have it, or you don't think that you have it, or that your doctor's a liar, or anything like that. What we're saying is, don't sell yourself short.
Great save. Thank you. Because what I told her, one more outbreak here, and you're fired from this house. All of a sudden, her bipolar disappeared on our property. So I'm not saying that everybody that has bipolar, it doesn't. I would never say that. There are people that I've met who have a hard time in life because they are truly bipolar. There are people that I've met in life who have a hard time in life because they are truly ADD. But these labels have been handed out like Mardi Gras beads in the hype of Mardi Gras. And too many people get that label and they go, okay. Because it was given to them at a vulnerable time from a person in authority. And they didn't question it because it was given to them at a vulnerable time from a person of authority. In fact,
I'll tell you something I learned. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's like, this also came from Joe Dispenza, right? And I probably should have known this already, but it wasn't until he said it this specific way that it actually clicked in my mind. And that is, I don't have to believe every one of my own thoughts.
yes.
Now that's a big one for me. I did not know that. I used to be anything that was generated internally by myself. I used to take it as gospel. It must be true because I thought of it. If I think I'm a failure, if I think like it doesn't matter if the doctor says I'm bipolar or not, I already knew I had bad mood swings before they said it. You know what I mean? Like when I'm saying it myself and I'm kind of self-diagnosing or pointing out my own shortcomings, actually, I don't have to take that as gospel. I can be the consciousness that observes the thought and then decides whether it's useful for me or not. And that's something that I did not know until a few weeks ago. And I'm like 42 years old. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a big one.
Hey, you got to it quicker than I did.
You know? So, because it's very easy for me to reject other people's thoughts. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He doesn't know me. He can't judge me. I can easily reject an insult from someone else. But if ever I put myself down, I used to really, give myself a hard time. In the past couple of weeks, I've been like saying stuff and catching myself saying it. And then like, hold on, wait, is that even true?
Yeah.
Right. And the moment I ask, is that even true? Without thinking, my brain already starts like talking about, well, it wasn't true in that scenario and it wasn't true in that other scenario. And I can think of a few others actually where it might not have been. And suddenly I've got these concrete memories of examples of when I wasn't useless or I wasn't lazy or I wasn't whatever the insult was to myself, Yep. And then I start thinking, well, hey, if that's not necessarily true, then who convinced me to say that to myself?
Yeah.
What was it that convinced me to say that to myself? Right. And then you start getting to like the real, where did your programming come from?
Yeah.
And to become aware of it, like, comes back to that whole, anything outside your awareness, outside your control thing. Right. So the moment you can become aware of it, then you start to free yourself from it. Right.
And people who have spent enough time around me know that I call people out all the time on self-talk. All the time. I'd be like, did you just say that? They're like, what? What did you just say? I'm dumb. Did you really just say that? Well, I was just joking. I said, your mind, your subconscious reads what you say, just like closed captioning on the TV. Even worse, you don't even get to see the laughter, smiles, and stuff on the screen. You say, well, I'm just stupid then. All it sees is the black and white letters coming across the screen. Well, I am stupid then.
So this is another thing, right? Is that as long as you're aware, I'm okay with people saying it as long as they're aware. So like, John always asks the same 3 questions at the beginning of every training. And they are, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here? Those are 3 questions he asks at the beginning of every training. And who are you is, it's a tricky one. It's very, everybody's still trying to answer it. What do you do? When by the time you ask what do you do, most people answer with who they are. What do you do? I am a lawyer. I am a doctor. I am a, they give you an identity statement. They don't say I practice law or I do hypnotherapy or you know what I mean? I do medicine. They say I am a doctor, right?
Yep.
And if you're unaware of it, then I have the same problem that you have, what you said just saying now about the self-talk, right? But you can't, like, you have to also understand that we live in a world where most people don't know the stuff that we know, right? And so you can't, like, when somebody asks you, oh, who are you? If I say, oh, I'm Elijah, even as long as I'm aware that I'm so much more than just my name.
Yes.
Right? When I'm saying it, and that I'm just saying it so that I can function in this social interaction now without making this person think I'm crazy because they come up to me and say, oh, hi, how are you doing? Who are you? And what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm someone who's still trying to figure out exactly all of who I am. And I do many things, actually, depending on when you catch me. Give them some kind of ethereal answer like a monk would. And I think, like, this guy's freaking crazy. It's not always appropriate to speak that way in social interactions with people.
Right.
So you can
Yep.
still speak normally as long as you're aware that you're so much more than what the words you speak are saying about you. So as long as you have that level of awareness, then I'm all right with any kind of self-talk, as long as you know you're doing it. Because the moment you're aware that you're doing it, then, like I just said, just because it's thought doesn't mean it's true. As long as I'm aware, then that's okay. I have that one level of dissociation within my mind. Therefore, the words I say to myself can't poison me because I'm aware of the words I'm saying to myself. However, if I am in a state and on autopilot and I say something like that to myself, then absolutely I agree with what you say and call people out on that kind of self-talk.
That's why I say people have been around me long enough know that I have little tolerance for, what would you call it, negative self-talk when it doesn't fit. Now, if they do something that, oh, this milk has been in here for 3 months. Oh my God, that was so stupid of me. I'll laugh and agree. But if it's something like, that doesn't fit and they're calling themselves stupid, I'll call them out on it. Because a lot of people have gotten so comfortable, I think, these days with negative self-talk that it feeds the animal, and then they can't or they can't figure out why they're so depressed.
Yeah, it's crazy that doctors are saying that stress is a normal state of consciousness these days. That is just insane from my perspective. How can stress be a normal state? That's an abnormal, unwanted state. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
It's a bonding thing, though.
So it's become something that most people experience so often throughout their day that they're considering it normal now. But it's not. It's only normal if you allow it to be normal.
And then, of course, you watch the negative talk competitions and the "my life is so bad" competitions. Oh, you think you got it bad? Oh my God! The other day I blah 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 blah. Oh, really? Well, last month I like. Could you tell me something good that happened to you last week? What? Tell me something good that happened to you last week. Well, like how sad.
It's crazy because there are, I think in the English language, there are something like 200,000 words that describe emotions. And if you ask your average person to write down on a piece of paper all the emotions they feel in a given week, on one, like make 2 columns and write all the positive ones on one side and the negative ones on the other side, most people will write like less than 15 words. And half of those make them feel like shit.
Yep.
It's like, it's crazy,
Yeah.
And so it's really like,
That's why we have so many people that we can help, because it is
it
crazy.
seems like magic to them. Some people, like when I tell them like, oh, you don't have to live this way. You can be in charge of your own life and your own feelings, and you can have the best day ever every single day. And you don't have to be in some crazy Tony Robbins hyper state to do it. You can just have like a really good day every day. And they look at me like I'm some kind of insane, crazy psychopath. And I'm like, no, this is your God-given ability, right? Even if you don't believe in God, it's your given ability, your birthright, to be able to control yourself and create the world around you.
Yep.
But they just, I don't know, it's so so deeply hypnotized that instead of hypnotizing people, I spend most of my time de-hypnotizing people,
Yes.
you know, but unfortunately that's the way it has to be.
And as such, that's where I also tell people you have to become aware of who you have around you,
Yes,
because the
very much
energy
so.
vampires and the negative Nancys, and if your name's Nancy, this isn't directed at you. It's just a little rhyme thingy, but
Yes, absolutely.
I had a
A lot of
family
times
member the other day that I had to shut them off because I said something and I knew they were jumping. I could see it in their eyes that they could see the worst case scenario. They're like, yeah, but I went, yeah, I know, but yeah, you're right. It could go this way and it would be absolutely terrifyingly terrible. But what if it didn't? What if it actually went okay? And I actually saw an Instagram the other day that was really cool. That a guy said, you know, if we, what would it be like if we stopped thinking about worst case scenario or best case scenario and just thought of it'll be what it'll be. If this thing gets canceled, it was going to be for the best. If this showed up better than expected, it was because that's how it was supposed to happen.
the Chinese farmer,
Huh?
the Chinese farmer with the horses,
One more time.
the Chinese farmer with the horses.
Yes, absolutely. Oh,
You
how
don't,
lucky. We'll see.
and you won't know until you look back on it. That's the thing, okay? People try and connect the dots going forwards, and it can't be done.
Yeah.
You can only connect the dots looking back. Going forwards, it's non-linear.
For some
Because
reason,
you don't know, pineapple, what's going to happen next.
yeah. And for some reason, Lillian Bridges' Golden Path training just popped up where people are so worried about what they're going to do for work or what they're supposed to be, and her answer is, well, look back at all the things you've done and what's the thread that connects through them. And it's a thin thread, but you're looking at what do they have in common, what did you like the most about what you've done, and that's a direction that you should be going towards with all of those things included. It's not a class that teaches you, well, here's the job that you should have. It shows you the direction that you should be looking in and what kind of jobs might be in that direction to have a little more fulfilling work life, whatever you want to call it. I know, I've been through, this is profession 28 for me. But I did a lot of traveling and I was never afraid to try something different. And I also, granted, started at quite a young age. I started working for master carpenters when I was 8 or 9. And for those of you talking about child labor, I enjoyed it was awesome.
Right. He used to accept candy bars as payment. It was great.
Huh?
Making a joke. I said he used to accept candy bars as payment.
Yeah. Didn't care. Kept me off the streets and out of trouble. And I learned.
I didn't go that far. I'm sure he got into some trouble.
Well, yeah, usually when I wasn't working. I was lucky enough to start hanging out in a mechanic shop when I was 11. Saved my money and bought my first car when I was 12. And, you know, I look at kids these days and I feel sorry for a lot of them. Now,
I don't.
I do. I don't have any money. I'm like, you're 16 years old. Get a job. Well, I can't work anywhere. What are you talking about? I'm like, there's plenty of opportunity out there, especially now. Holy cow, you got a smartphone, that's income there. There are self-made millionaires that are 17. Kudos to them. And another beautiful smiling face from across the ocean on the bottom side. How you doing, young lady?
I'm wet because I got caught in the rainstorm.
Yay!
Yay, rain's great.
Well, I wish you'd send some here to Texas because we got a half an inch in the last 3-4 months. So, but you're still looking good even though you took a quick shower before you showed up. So, we've been talking about the power of labels and how nothing means anything until you give it a label. Unfortunately, one of the things that when I teach this class, I tell people that unfortunately, we're so quick to grab the first label that we put on it, on anything.
And isn't it exciting that we can now choose to change the label?
Right?
Isn't that fun?
That's why I love asking them, well, what else could it be? Give me 3 examples. And they're like, what? In fact, my favorite one to do it with is headaches. See that look on their face, and I'm like, what's wrong? I got a headache. Okay, well, that's what you called it. What else could it be? Give me 3 labels.
Yeah, I would ask something like, when did you decide that?
Yeah. When did you decide it was a headache?
When did you decide that?
What else could it be? When's the last time, how much water have you drank lately? Well, not very much. Okay, it could be dehydration.
Anymore. But how don't you have the headache in those times when you don't have it anymore?
Yeah, as soon as
thinking about it, I mean, how don't you do it when you don't?
Soon as the check engine light showed up, right? All of a sudden you were like, oh, check engine light's on. I've got a headache. Bam. I guess you got a headache now.
I've been reviewing my labels in safety in the last few days, and I didn't realize how much choice I had in that. You know, all the stuff that I was way from when I was from childhood. When you're a child, you don't realize that you have the choice. And it's only with mixing with you guys that I realize I do have a choice, and changing the meaning and changing how I feel about it and changing what happens in my body if I remember what it was like to feel unsafe. It's so powerful and opens up a whole world.
Awesome. In fact, totally awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I know that somebody that's going to watch this recording needed to hear that.
And then
that allows you to do now that you couldn't do before.
Well, now I can do the self-nurturing that I thought I missed out on, or recognize what was self-nurturing, what was nurturing that I didn't recognize as nurturing, because everybody has got different measuring scales like Fahrenheit and Celsius. Their scale may be Fahrenheit, my scale may be Celsius, and they just don't quite match. But, you know, it may be really high in caring on their scale, but to me, it's only registering down really low. And understanding or getting a concept that maybe they were giving everything they could under the circumstances, again, changes the label. And that again is really powerful, how you can recode what you thought was fixed in the past, which again can give you the freedom of being somebody else if you choose.
Absolutely. And the demonstration you just talked about also works for trauma. I have to explain to a lot of my clients that one person's 10 is another person's 3, and one person's 3 is another person's 10. And what happened to you, regardless, the fact that you're here means you survived it. And you can actually go back now and talk to the 3-year-old that thought not being able to find your teddy bear was the worst thing ever, and locked it in as a 10, going, it's okay. We found the teddy bear. We survived. It's all right. And sometimes just that little bit of rewind releases a whole lot of pressure. And just like you stating about, you know, safety, when's the last time you felt safe? Well, it depends on what you put onto the label. So again, thanks for sharing that.
And why not play with the monsters under your bed? Why not have fun with them? Invite them to Teddy Bear's tea party.
Right?
Yes, they can be fun.
Yeah, sometimes it's like I would ask someone, so where's the person now? They say, oh, this so-and-so said something and they ruined my life, or they, you know, she broke my heart, or my teacher was really mean, or I had horrible parents. Or where are they now? Are they here? Are they in the room? Are they in the room? Are they abusing you right now here in this room? Oh, it's happening inside your mind? You mean you're making it up? Could you not make up something that's more beneficial? It's as ridiculous as what you've been doing, so why not do something ridiculous that benefits you? It sounds a little bit cold when you put it that way, but it's what we're doing, right? Because you're just, don't get me started. You already got me started. You already got me started.
Well, if your memories aren't accurate anyway, and you're,
Well, that's the thing.
yeah, you might as well edit them into something useful.
Right? How there's this thing, was it the Nelson Mandela thing, right? Where there's a bunch of people, maybe about half the population of the world, remember very clearly Nelson Mandela died in his cell, right? But the other half of the world saw him get freed. And there's like this, I don't know what they call it. They call it like Stockholm syndrome or some other. There's got another weird name, Mandela paradox or something. But like, if the world can't even agree on that, yeah, you know, we've got 3 billion people on either side arguing. I swear he died in prison. No, he was just on TV last week. What are you talking about? Right? Like, how do you know that? Did the teacher really yell at you back in 9th grade? Or were you just like a normal kid, probably not paying entirely full attention to it, and maybe you're just remembering it a bit wrong? And does it even matter? Because you have the power to imagine it differently.
That's it right there.
right? And if you, and I here's the thing, right? So they took a group of chambermaids and asked them, split them into two groups, and told one of the two groups that, did you know that when you flip this mattress, it's just like lifting a weight in the gym? Did you know when you stretch and put the sheets over this thing and lift the laundry basket, it's just like doing a squat with a kettlebell? When you lift the laundry basket, it's just like you're doing a squat with a kettlebell in the gym. And I want you to just carry on doing whatever you're doing, but just be aware that the movements that you're performing on a daily are like going to the gym. And actually, the job that you've been given, we've had a look and measured, and you're doing more exercise just by working here than what is recommended by the Surgeon General.
Yep.
Right? They came back 3 months later, and the group, the half of the chambermaids that were told that, had all lost weight, all lost body fat percentage, all, do you know what I mean? Just because they were aware that what they were doing was like exercise.
Yes.
Right? So hold on a minute. That means that what they said about, I'm sure you've all heard this one, right? That the body can't tell the difference between something that's real and something that's vividly imagined.
Yep.
Do we all agree with this one?
Yes.
Have you ever been sleeping and you're lying in bed, you're nowhere near the edge of your bed, and suddenly, like you're falling?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm not falling. Okay, I'm actually not even close to the edge of my bed. I'm cool. It's all good. But for that brief moment, you just kind of, whoa. And you woke up in the middle.
Oh, the freeze got to him.
Well, that gives me the opportunity of
Yes.
reminding everybody about the hidden gifts in things that went wrong, that we don't realize what powers the things that go wrong give us. It's a gateway. It's an opening. It's an opening into something new and different if you choose to look at it a little bit differently. When I was at school, I had to learn Latin, and I hated Latin, and I hated my Latin teacher. But because I hated my Latin so much, I went into a wonderful daydream, and I learned to do all sorts of meditative processes because of my Latin teacher. She opened a whole new world for me that would have been closed had I not been so frustrated by the Latin lesson. And there's so many other bigger issues that life, like an oyster, if you put a bit of grit in the oyster, it may form a pearl. So if life puts a bit of grit in your life and gives you a hard time, you've got to find a way to deal with it, because you can't move forward without it.
Yes. Absolutely. And tagging on to what Elijah was talking about, I talk to a lot of people and tell them about, I call it 40-hour fitness. When I work with a lot of young athletes and stuff like that, the vast majority of them have a day job or, some side job. And I said, if you can envision that every activity that you do is what machine at the gym would you be doing the same activity with? And do it mindful in that way. Do the same routine you would do when you were going to go to the gym anyway. Take your supplements, drink your protein shake, and then when you get to work, be mindful of your walking. You're not just trying to transport your body from one place to the other at work. You're getting your steps in. When you go to reach something on the bottom of the shelf, you do a squat and you pick it up. And you watch your form, you watch your intention. But, like you see the guys at the grocery store that have to go out and get all the carts. Well, I've got 4 of them now that they volunteer to get the carts because it's steps, and when they do the push, all of a sudden now it's just like in football with the what do they call them, slides, and they work out their legs and their shoulders and their arms and their whole core, and they pay attention to how they position their body to do it. I go, you're getting paid to go to the gym now. What a concept. But it's all in how do you look at the activities you're doing throughout the day. That's why Elijah's story was so prevalent, because only half of the staff was given the gift to think about how are you going through the day, what are you doing, and how are you viewing your activities. And half of them benefited from it quite well. So it's another one where mindfulness and understanding your environment and what you can make of it will help you. Hi, Nancy. So we've got 29 minis. What else we got? What you got for me? Anybody? What you got, Fran? Anybody else got anything they want to?
Well, I'm playing with hypnotic massage, hypnotic rocking, hypnotic nurturing, and actually playing some exercises with that. And it's kind of fun that, you know, if I felt that I'd missed out on something, I'm creating it hypnotically now and experiencing it now as if I were an infant. And it feels good. And yeah, I guess it gives control back into my life in a nice way.
Cool.
And this stemmed from working with a friend of mine who's had about 5 years ago a massive stroke, and she needs to sort of get her mind working more efficiently than it has been, recreate connections that had been lost after her stroke. And of course, then that goes back to how did you do it the first time around in childhood? And so this has been the sort of creation process of going back to the very beginnings. The very beginning of infant is being held, rocked, and nurtured. Then as the child starts to develop, then the child starts rolling over and then getting up and crawling. And reproducing some of these things hypnotically is kind of fun and very comforting.
That's awesome.
Relearning from the beginning the way you want to.
Milton taught himself how to walk again, right? From the wheelchair, because he had polio twice. So the first time when he taught himself how to walk again, it was by watching his younger sister climb a tree and remembering what it was like when they used to play. And he used to remember vividly what it was like when they would play, and he was watching her climb the tree and in the chair, and his finger went like that. And that's when, oh, something just happened. And then he would go even more into the imagination of trying to climb that tree alongside his sister, and eventually his whole hand, and that's how he became unparalyzed first time.
Wow. And this moves in seamlessly into sort of sports, extreme sports development hypnotically. What do we call it? Somebody's got the right name. I've lost it for the moment. Developing supreme sports skills by modeling on other experts and the power of that. So we got a lot of choices, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Modeling super powerful. Super powerful. I mean, we all learned through modeling anyway, right? Like you learned language because your parents sat down with you with a dictionary and went through every different word and said, this is what this word means. And this, no, that's not how you learned language. You learned language by the grown-ups around you just talked to you as if you understood, and you modeled them, and one day you just answered back. And that's how it happened, because by the time you went to school, you were already talking, weren't you? Right?
Yep.
You learned how to read and write in school, that's for sure, right? But speaking, you were already speaking before you went to school. And that comes from modeling. That comes from observing and mimicking, which is basically what modeling is.
And that brings me down another rabbit hole into things like dyslexia. I can only talk about that because I know about that, is that it gives you a different way of problem solving. I don't know how, I don't know why, and I want to investigate more. And if anybody knows, I'm so interested to hear. But I know that I can solve problems that other people can't, and perhaps vice versa. Because of dyslexia, the disadvantage was I was really late learning to read because I couldn't work out which way around a B or a D was. And it was slow reading, but there are other advantages. And I'm now really glad that I'm still a little dyslexic because I look at things differently and I can work out things that other people can't. You know, it's obvious to me and it's completely alien to them, and vice versa.
Well, who has that in common with you that's really famous and quite wealthy? Richard Branson.
A lot of people, actors and people who excel in other fields are dyslexic and
Yes.
think it's a good thing.
Yeah, there's quite a number of them that have all these labels that a majority of the world looks at as less than positive, which is sad for the people that have been given the diagnosis and don't see the positivity to it. That's why Richard Branson has come out and talked about it so much. He's like, stop bagging on people who are dyslexic. I'm dyslexic. We think differently. Yes, we're the fish that can't climb the tree like a monkey. But why don't you have the monkey come down and spend a few years underwater with us? Doesn't work so well. We're just different. And learning how to embrace the difference and then working off the strengths with it, like you're doing now. Rock and roll. It's funny how many people think that they have so many limitations, and then you start seeing all of the people that have extreme limitations who are rocking it, and you're like, okay.
So is that because they had to work harder to fit in with the norm? So they have that ability to, they've got that superpower of pushing themselves further?
Very possible. And part of it, I think, is they refuse to accept the fact that it's a limitation. You know, God bless them for not accepting a label that was handed to them as a less than positive. Again, you know, try and tell Richard Branson that being dyslexic was going to hold him back. He's like, you're right, I sucked in school. I sucked at reading, and yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say autism's I mean, I know there's a huge spectrum, but some people who are autistic have really a superpower, but it may be in a limited area, but they still have a superpower. And, you know, it's just a different superpower.
Absolutely. And that's, again,
Did you ever see, sorry,
go ahead.
did you ever see George Carlin talking about soft language? You know who George Carlin is, right?
Oh, yeah, I watched him the other night.
So there's a link. I don't know if you've seen this one or not, but I think this is the kind of thing in your own time. It's about 10 minutes long, so in your own time. But I think it's the kind of thing that will get you going and give you plenty ammunition for one of these triple T's. Definitely worth a watch. And it feeds right into what you're talking about with the dyslexia and the thing as well. This idea of labels and how people changed labels, and they softened, like, you know, shell shock used to be called shell shock after the First World War, but eventually it became post-traumatic stress disorder, and the pain has been buried beneath the jargon, and all that kind of stuff, right? It's the kind of video I think that will get you going and give you plenty of ammunition for one of these triple T's. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it.
From shell shock to battle fatigue. Well, that wasn't enough, so now it's
so good.
It's got to be a disorder.
You know, when did what was it? When did toilet paper become bathroom tissue? Or when did, like that kind of thing? You just soften everything to the point where there's just like, you can't just say it anymore. It's gone too far. There's no. He talks about cripple. He talks about the word cripple, right? And it's they're differently abled. Okay, now imagine being called differently abled instead of being called crippled.
Yeah.
People fancy the word cripple, but he said, and I actually looked myself as well, there's no disparaging negativity or bad tone attached to the word cripple that I can find in any book or any dictionary anywhere. It's even in the Bible. Jesus helped cripples, right? And yet people all around the world have been bullshitted into thinking that if you somehow change the label, you'll change the condition, right? And that it's okay for you to be offended by this label, and now we're going to change the label to something else, but that's going to make you feel better just because we changed the label. But actually nothing actually changed, did it? And so the moment you realize, and this is kind of where I'm closing the loop back to where you were talking, Brandon, is the moment you realize that what you're saying about all these famous creative people having dyslexia and succeeding in spite of that, is that they don't see it as a limitation, right? And when it comes to, and again, like you said, autism is a very wide spectrum, but I know about 3 or 4 autistic people at the moment that I hang out with regularly, colleagues and friends and things like that, and they are all like super talented and super creative within a certain specific specialized field.
Yes.
Right? But if you challenge them in that field, they will absolutely destroy you.
Yes.
My friend Sam knows more about trains than any engineer who went to the highest university, and he's never been to university. Right? But he knows more about trains and how they work and how the engine works and how this is and how that is, just because he's interested in it. And it sparks his imagination and he gets into it, and then he's able to process and apply himself much more effectively just because that's what he enjoys. So then it's like, well, where can you apply the gift that you have? Like, what do you enjoy? And then you excel, you put yourself into that field and then excel there, So it's not a limitation. It's where do you want to apply the superpower?
Yeah, it's all where you put the focus, because I did think it was a disadvantage for a long time because I couldn't read as fast as other people. It made me slow at chewing through textbooks at school. But, afterwards I did learn that there were a lot of advantages to it, but it took me a while to learn what the advantages were. And it's all a matter of focus. If you focus on the downside of being autistic rather than the superpower, well, it changes the picture completely. So it's all about focus and where you put your attention.
Right back to a label.
Did you hear the submodalities in what she said? It changes the picture completely. Did you hear the submodalities in what she said? That was great.
That's why I give kudos to the parents who have children who are different, who won't let people treat their children as if they're different. You know, and some people get mad at them. They're like, no, yes, my kid has this, but he's growing up in a world that they're going to have to figure out how to fit in. And those are the kids that are empowered. Now, I've got a couple of friends back home that his one arm didn't form to normal, and one leg. And his parents never treated him any different. And he played baseball and football and all the above. Whereas, you know, it would have been super easy, convenient for the parents to go, oh, my poor child, and allow him to be less than he was capable of.
I was just looking for a book that I came across when I was doing some tidying that my father read me when I was 6 years old, which was called Leo the Late Bloomer. And it was about a lion that was slow in learning to talk and learning to do things. And his mother just kept saying to his impatient father, just wait, he'll do it in his own time. And that book has been an inspiration to me all my life, in that it's okay not to do things at the same time, rate, and speed that other people do them. You do them when you're ready, if you're ready. Because, I mean, I took up karate at 50, and I achieved a brown belt.
Awesome. Yes.
Wow, you know, I had never dreamed of doing that, because I thought, you know, way too old to do stuff like that. But so what? And I had permission to do that because of that book. You know, it's okay. Whenever it's the right time, it's the right time.
Yep, exactly. Again, don't compare yourself to a monkey because you're a fish.
You know, I am a fish.
Huh?
I am a fish. Pisces.
Good answer. I'm a
And
squirrel.
I'm the water carrier.
I'm actually a genie. What is your wish?
Now, I've heard about you. I'm going to take a while to figure out how to ask the question properly.
Listen, feel free to join the Australian hypnosis meetup this Saturday, because I will be teaching about language. That is the venue for it. The normal one that you know, you've been there before, the one that Fran hosts. I'll be hosting it this Saturday. We'll be talking about language, and I will show you a few ways that you can ask questions. I know it's at ridiculous, stupid o'clock in the morning for you, and you know, for that I apologize, but that's where it is at the moment. When we get to doing my own Sunday classes again, I'll be sure to send you the invite, of course. You know, but that may or may not happen immediately. You know, Alan's here.
Good to see you, Alan.
Awesome.
Hello, how are we going?
We're doing well.
Much
Anything,
better now you're here.
anything you'd like to chat about in the last 10 minutes, Alan?
Oh, did I make it for the last 10 minutes, did I?
Yeah, it's okay. You're here. I'm quite honored and blessed to have you here. It's good to see your face.
No, it's good to be here. And throw in a question. What could I ask about? Client today had aches in her back. She's had chemo. I was wondering if you knew of any. She said the doctors told her she's got cysts in her back. I don't know if anyone's had any experience with chemo, and does it kind of cause that sort of problem, or do you think it's a psychosomatic thing? Or sorry, it's the only tricky question I could think of.
Well, it's a doozy. Anybody else?
She was sitting. The only way she could handle the pain was to sit in the recliner with the legs up in the air. So I said to her, you must feel comfortable when you go to the gynecologist. And
Did she laugh? Seriously, did she laugh?
well, she did chuckle a bit, but she's probably about 80. So
it's still very good. If her reaction is to laugh, that's a good thing. That's a good sign that she could, because you can use humor to. I don't know anything about chemo, and I've never dealt with someone who has cysts in their back or anything. I don't know if that's a legit connection between the two, or if it's a psychosomatic thing. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure every one of the amazing magic tricks that you already know will work, regardless of how strong an experience she thinks she's had with the chemo, right? Regardless of how strong that experience is inside her memory, I'm certain that you can still use hypnosis, NLP, all that stuff to reframe it somehow so that it's not as bad as it is. And the moment you get even an inch of movement, you've proven like that it works in theory. And once you have that, then you've got a leverage point to kind of widen the gap and open it up and create a bigger change from, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you something else funny that happened with her. I do that thing where you imagine letting go all the stuff, the thoughts, images, feelings, emotions, and sensations through this hole in the top of your head. And I can't remember who does that, but anyway, I started to do that with her, and all these things leaving through this hole in the top of your head. And then I realized that's where her cancer was, and she actually had a hole in the top of her head. Anyway,
Probably perfect for the occasion.
Yes. Yes.
Milton Erickson was really good with pain management, though, wasn't he? Who knows about Milton Erickson's pain management?
There's a lot of different protocols that'll, like Elijah said, there's so many different ways that you can work with her on this. One part that I will share with you is laughter, comedy. If she likes, does she like stand-up comedy at all? Do you know?
You're talking about my old lady? I've got no idea.
Even if she doesn't, get her to start watching anything that'll make her laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And
it really is the best medicine.
Yeah, it truly is. And one of the greatest experiences and stories I got of this was actually a comedian that used to come to our church. And he'd do, you have to be a clean comedian to be able to, do a comedy show in a church. But he said early in his career, he just wanted gigs, practice, and all the above. And So he got asked if he would do 3 gigs. And he was like, awesome, yeah, cool, yeah, I'll do them. And didn't question where it was. And he showed up, and it was at a cancer ward of a hospital. And he said he remembered explicitly when he found out that it was in a cancer ward, he was like, oh, seriously? Seriously. And he was really, said he was seriously thinking about backing out. And decided, well, I ain't got anything going on, I'll do it. So he did the shows, and this is going to choke me up. So the third night, the lady came up and she said, I don't even know how to thank you, but you need to keep doing what you're doing. It is the best medicine ever, because I saw you the first night and went back to my room and realized I hadn't felt any pain for 2 hours. And I thought, maybe it's just coincidence. So I saw you last night, and the same thing. So I came tonight for my medicine, and it worked all 3 nights.
That's so cool. And Alan, you are the master of getting other people to tell you their own metaphorical stories for their own healing. Have you been using that with your client?
Oh, I've got this story about that I'm not actually a good storyteller. So the storytelling group I run is for my practice to get better. Yeah, I don't actually use it much. I also find storytelling can be a little bit slow, but maybe I can change that idea that I have and
For
tell
her
more
to
stories.
tell you her story for her healing
Oh yeah,
would be
her story.
incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
If you can just coach her with that.
Yes, yeah. Well, she's used to telling this story about how depressed she is and how much pain she's in. So any story that's different to that one would be a good start.
I think that's a fabulous one. And if you can get her to put the humor in, like TJ was saying, it'd make it even more powerful.
Yeah, well, that's why I said if you can find out what kind of humor she likes, find it for her. And stand-up comedy, there's a collection of them called Dry Bar, and it's all clean comedy. There's a ton of them on YouTube, and they're great. It's all clean humor, and yeah, I love comedy. I love all the above. Laughter, like we've said, is some of the best medicine out there. And laughter oxygenates our blood because it requires a lot of breathing, and yeah, it's a quick way to forget about all the schmutz going on.
And the endorphins and other hormones that are released into your body as you laugh and as you smile. And smiling practice in the mirror as well, you know, even when it comes to just practicing with a pen or a pencil between your teeth, it changes your physiology. And Alan, you may not think that your stories, you may want to improve your stories, but you are brilliant at eliciting other people to tell their own stories. You're really really good at that.
Really shit. No, sorry, you're really good. I mean, I know what you say. You were going to say shit hot, but don't worry, I score 3 times Fran, so I'm 3 times worse than you now, right?
Also, if you anchor the laughter to the healing process, which I know that you have the ability to do, take some of those stories and wrap them around to the concept of how much healing power there is in laughter, and allow, anchor right into her that the more she laughs, the healthier she gets.
Yeah, and you can also link the thing, right? So that when if you get to the point where she's like hysterically laughing, like genuinely hysterically laughing in the moment, that's where you're going to anchor now imagine your cysts are healing while you're laughing. Now imagine your cysts, and then if those two become anchored together, then every time she laughs, she'll be literally healing.
Yes. Yay! That brings us up to the 8 o'clock. Well, the 8 o'clock here at the top of the hour for this. What a beautiful, awesome. Thank you for bringing that up, Alan.
Perfect. No worries.
Close out Triple T number 33. For those of you that are watching the recording, please subscribe, click the bell, leave comments, share this with anybody and everybody, and let them know that they don't even have to know how to spell NLP to join us. This is where we have fun talking about ways to help people. I want to thank each and every one of you for investing your time with me, because it's the only thing I cannot give you. And I really appreciate it. So God bless you all. Love you all. Hope to see your smiling faces back here in 7. Until then, take care of each other and be nice to people.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.